Hey guys, Snow back here out in the shop with the 78, and like I told you, I was gonna start working on. You can see I got the T-tops out, and I started pulling. I took the from those of you know this, a Targa band goes across here, so that popped out, and I'm gonna show you something in a minute. You got to be super careful when you pull those things off because the little white clips in there, they break really easy. And I've called around and I haven't been able to actually find any that replace it, but I'll show you what I do. What I did on my last 78, that when those little white clips came, a couple of them broke. I'll show you what I did to make it work with some modern pieces. So right now is what I'm doing is I'm getting ready to take the door panel off, and I'll show you how we do that in just a second. And I took all the emblems off, and I'll show you what I did, how those come off. You got to take them off real nice and easy. Is what I use is a putty knife and a real thin putty knife, and just kind of work all the way around them so they don't break, because they're hard to replace too. And so let's take a look at some of the things we did over here. So as you can see, the Ford is off, and if you look really close, there's little inserts underneath. Well, they're kind of right in the metal, and these actually are pretty fragile. Surprisingly, this car's been sitting inside for so long that they're all still intact. But on a lot of cars that have been sitting out, these tend to rot away. So when you pull the Ford letters out, well, either you'll break the tab off of the here it is, break the tab off the Ford or the letter, which you got to be careful of, or you'll pull these things out, or these things will just rot away. Then your letters don't fit in properly. So basically, I just took a little putty knife. Just take a putty knife, and you just kind of slide it up in there, and I just kind of work my way around and popped each letter off one at a time, because you can't really get behind there. You can see it's kind of tough to get back in here. You can't really fit. So you got that whole mechanism there for the deck lid, so that makes it hard to get down in there. And I took the lock out for the hatch, and because you don't want to have to taper on that when you're painting everything. All that stuff needs to go. You can see my rubber is pretty bad shape, so that all can be replaced. You can still buy that, so I'll be replacing all of that. And one thing you got to make sure with these older cars, what I do is 78 rear, everything I put in a baggie, label it. The door handles and everything, and the window crank, the V8 emblems, the front Ford, everything's in baggies. So that way you don't lose anything. Everything goes in a bag. And so let me show you the T-top. So basically, the Targa band, it comes across the top. It's almost like a little itty bitty vinyl. It's a little piece of vinyl roof, really. And then they put this piece of metal in here. But the window, you can see the whole, the window actually, and the glass goes all the way to here. So I was looking on the internet at some of, it looks like some of the King Cobras, they didn't have the Targa band. But it doesn't look like it looks a little bit like there's not as much room here on the King Cobras. Maybe the T-tops are bigger. I'm not sure. Maybe it's just my eyes playing tricks on me. And then I noticed, I know on the King Cobras, these windows open. You see there's a little latch back here on some of these, and the windows actually open, and they're vents, which would be a nice feature to have. So, because I was wondering, maybe on this I could, because these are just screwed in, you could just unscrew these, take this piece off, and then you got the whole window. The only problem then is the pillar here. There's nothing there, so you'd have to build something, unless you could find one on another car, to make it look aesthetically pleasing, I guess, right there. But you can see when you take this Targa band off, it's got little inserts in the holes too, little plastic. You can see why I had to take this Targa band off, because it got some surface rust and it went underneath. And if you're going to paint a car, you should take all this stuff off anyway. So it's got little plastic inserts all the way down, all the way through. They go down in, and you say this one actually popped out, but I still have the piece. So, and let's walk over here, and here's the Targa band. So basically, it's got 2 rubber seals, and it's basically just like it's wrapped. It's basically wrapped in vinyl. It's a piece of fiberglass with vinyl wrapped around it, just for looks, I guess. Now these are the little clips. This one here is broken. And you can see how they actually slide in these. These are your stainless pieces that go on the outside. And you can see how the clips, they just slide through, and they're on, it's almost like a track. See how they just kind of slide? So the track, and then they slide wherever you need them. You got both of these pieces. Now the problem is when you stick your tool in there to pry these clips break. Now luckily, I only broke 2 of them. Actually, I guess you could say 3. This one. I broke 2 of the actual plastic pieces into the car. They stayed. And then this one here, I broke part of the bottom, which no big deal. I'll show you how I make new ones. But you can see on some of these, they actually pulled the plastic insert right out of the car too. So what I'll do is I'll pop this off, push that back into the car when I'm ready to go. Same with this one. And then line these up, and we'll put everything back together and snap them back in. Shouldn't really be any trouble at all. But you can see the reason why I took the T-tops. The T-tops come out, and then is what you have is they put a foil. There's an actual, like an aluminum foil tape that covers all the rivets. It goes all the way around inside here. And then there's foam, weather stripping, keep it from leaking, but this stuff's all dry rotted. I did find on the internet there's like an 8-piece kit that replaces everything that needs to go in here. All the weather stripping, everything. So I'll probably get that. It's like $230 for both sides. So I guess that's not too bad. But so basically, this screw's going to have to come out, and I'll have to drill out all of these little pop rivets. Every single one of them will have to get drilled out. And then this black piece here is a separate piece to the stainless, or the aluminum, whatever this is. So this whole bracket all the way around is going to be one piece that comes off. And then these 2 pieces, this comes off separately. Basically, this little overhang is what holds the T-top. When you slide the T-top in, that's what keeps the T-top down, and then it latches on this side. So, but you can see this whole car is in really great shape, except for we have a hole here. Looks like we have a hole here, and then there's a hole here. I can't explain it. I don't know what all this crap is all over this. Looks like they tried to glue it or something. Somebody did. Put some kind of sealer over it. So looks like I'm going to be doing some metal repair here. And now the problem with this is I got to be super careful if I weld a piece of metal in here, because directly below that is the headliner. Took the mirror off here, but you know, the headliner. So the only thing below, if I start welding and I'm dropping hot pieces of metal down in there, I'm going to ruin my headliner. So I got to figure something out here that's going to work a little different. Maybe I'll try some of the newer technology, and I'll cut this away, and then I'll crimp this down, and I'll cut a small piece. A lot of new cars, they just glue body panels and everything on the new cars. Everything's glued together. So maybe I'll just cut this, crimp that down so I can fit a piece of metal flush in there, and then we'll body glue it in, and then body work it. I don't see why that wouldn't work. So that's what we're gonna do with the T-tops. We're gonna get all that drilled out, and I'm not too worried about saving. I mean, this is completely rotted. There's nothing left of it. All this, look, this isn't even. It's rotted and came apart. I mean, this stuff is just crumbling, all of this old rubber. So, and then this is where the when the T-tops, where the pins come in. So we'll pull these off, clean these up. All this is going to be all new rubber when I get done. It's going to be pretty nice. But the nice thing about this car is the floor is pretty much perfect, you know. So I will have to, when I do the roll bars here, where the roll bars mount on the floors, I think I'm going to mount them. They're going to mount, I'm going to make plates, and everything's going to get welded right too. So I got to cut away all of this soundproofing. It's almost like tar, like they just heated up these sheets of tar, and because they all molded to the bottom of the floor. Now they're all just crumbly, messy pieces of crap. But so in order to get down to the metal and down to the subframe, I got to cut all this out. And then what I'll do is I'll weld a plate here, and I'll weld a plate on the bottom, and everything will, that way the roll bars will be completely sturdy and safe and mounted. And I think, honestly, I think this is a pretty good distance for the headliner. So I got just enough to put your hand in here, and I didn't want it to go too close to the top of the headliner, so you know it's going to be hard to paint. So because what I want to do is I want to paint these roll bars the exact same color as the outside of the body of the car. So as soon as I pull off these door panels, which I'm going to go do in a second, and I'll show you what I'm doing there. You got to be real careful with these door panels. And but I want to paint these. I want to paint the roll bars to match the exterior of the car. I mean, my 77, they're just black. So these are black already, but I'm going to sand these down, and then when I paint the whole car and do the door jambs and everything, I'll go ahead and paint the roll bars to match. I think that will look pretty cool. So, but basically here, when you're working on these door panels, I've got just a couple little cheap. I just got these at the Harbor Freight, you know, no big deal. They're just plastic. They're for pulling out little sockets or little piece door panels and things like that. That's what they're made for. But as you can see in here, let me. Maybe I need a little light. Let's get some light over here. But as you can see, these door panels are cardboard, really. And they have, when you look real closely, they just have these little metal squiggly, I don't know, clips that just go in the holes. And they got some kind of rubber on the clips. And then they go right into the door card. Into the so when you're pulling these out, you got to get them right exactly where they are. Otherwise, you'll tear that cardboard, because it's almost like just a really thick cardboard these door panels are made of. So if you're not careful, you will rip them right out of there. Then they're not going to fit back in very well. So basically, when I'm doing this, I'm just sticking this in here, and just real easily just give it a nice pry out. And I go to each one at a time, and there's another one right here, and just pop these out nice and slow, go all the way around, and you'll get this whole door panel off pretty nice and easily. All right, so if you remember what I was telling you about these clips, these little clips here for the Targa band strips, they break real easy. So basically, you can't really find these. You can't really buy new ones. And these are real brittle, this old plastic anyway. So basically, what I do is, these are just your basic clips that you can get them at any hardware store. And they don't quite fit in the track. So all you really do is just take them like this and clip a little edge off of it, and looks like clip a little bit off that side, Make sure you're straight. Clip a little off this side, and now you've made yourself a nice squared off the edges. Take that, slides in the middle. Guess what? There it is. It slides around. It's the exact same length as these. You can see it's basically the same, and it will slide in. And the nice thing about these are they've got all these ridges, so if you don't have the plastic piece, if that plastic piece that's inside the car broke, this will pop right down in, no problem. So if you can't, you know, if you're taking one of these off and you're doing some work, don't worry about breaking these. You just go get yourself a set of these, and they work just exactly the same. So that's a good tip. I figured that out on my last 78. So we just, when I repainted it, so we did that one, and it works just fine. All right, so thanks for checking out my video today. Just doing a little bit of this body work and some things on the Mustang, finishing tearing some things apart. And I'm just as soon as I take these door panels off, and I'm gonna get started on the welding. I'm gonna start welding up these roll bars. I think I got them where I want them. Because what I think I'm gonna do then is I'm gonna go get a seat, and I'm gonna put the seat in place and see how it compares to where before I start tacking these in. Put the seat in, make sure it works properly with the roll bar where it is, and you will notice that since I have the roll bars coming down here like this, it's hard to navigate when you're doing this backwards. But anyway, so I still can't get it right. I'm going this way. I should be going this way. I don't know. So anyway, you can see the roll bars are here. I want to make sure that you can close the door with the armrest there with the roll bar coming down. I want to be able to close the door. I want to leave the armrest on, but I don't want your legs all pressed up against that roll bar either to where it's uncomfortable to drive. So if I can't do that, then maybe I'll just eliminate these and just get rid of these, and I'll just have the 4-point from here back and go that way. So anyway, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get welding on these today and get them in place and see how it goes. And I'll see you guys next time. I appreciate you checking out the video. Make sure you like it, share it, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.